Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Hairy Channel, and with me tonight are minions Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
DrFunctional.
Hey.
And SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
You're still in, is this your winter icon or your Christmas
That's my
icon?
winter. That's my winter icon. That is a snowflake.
It's a snowflake. Okay.
I think that 2023 will be the year of the snowflake, and so I'm starting off with that.
I think we've already had consecutive years of the snowflake.
No doubt about it.
Leading up to this year.
Calendar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your day, or more specifically, how have you been since Tuesday when I last spoke with you?
Oh, things are moving right along, and we're winterizing things, doing common chores, putting new weather stripping underneath the door, that sort of thing. Just it's real ordinary, just get stuff done day.
Yeah, homeowner stuff.
Yeah, homeowner stuff. Exactly. Oh man, you got it made. You own a home. Yeah, just have Jeeves repair everything.
Yeah. Sometimes in Russia, home owns you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When I'm out there scraping the inside of the thread underneath the wasp nest infested hydrant outside, that's the joy of home ownership.
Yeah, I mean, if you had one of those boring company flamethrowers, that would be handy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. Heat up the metal. You got to be careful with that metal. It's such lousy metal, plumbing metal.
Well, there's this channel. I think his name is Sean Woods, and he does this Mousetrap Monday thing, where he has like over 1,000 videos of him just trapping and killing rodents and killing insects and things. That's all it is. It's like, I have this vintage mousetrap that I got off of eBay for $1,000. Let's see if it works. It's like,
that's where I've seen
dude.
that. That's where I've seen that. I heard something about this guy. I probably heard about him through you. Wouldn't surprise me that you're.
I like the videos where they torture hornets.
You're a rodentophobe.
Well, I mean, the whole Nigel thing really opened my eyes to how much I hate rodents.
Exactly. Whether they're rats or Republicans.
Hey, those are elephants. They identify as elephants, and they never forget, right?
Yeah.
Hardly ever.
They never remember. That's the problem.
No promises. No freaking kidding. Hey, Functional.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
You all right there?
Yeah, we just ran some errands today, and it's a funny pet story.
Okay.
So we decided we were going to get the kittens a proper bed. We got this really nice bigger one that's for a dog, but big enough for 2 kittens to grow into. And so Jack, the boy, he's all spread out in there. He's loving it. It's cozy. It's by the heater, so it's retaining the heat. It's great. And then Nixie, the little princess, she decides, what she would rather sleep on? The Pizza Hut paper bag, because that's just how she rolls. It's so adorable.
I may
see their personalities.
I may need to reorder the show here slightly just for you, Functional. Let me see. Let's see. Scrolling down.
Yeah, when he does things for me, because it usually doesn't end well.
No. This is fine. You're gonna love this. Let's see. It's under you, bad, Amazon, bad. Okay, there we are. Let's do.
Oh, that's always a phrase you want to hear.
Yeah. Okay. Here, this we'll do this out of band. Hold on here.
Like, ew. God.
Okay. Do you see this?
Oh, is this the tongue brush?
Oh, yes, yeah. The tongue brush.
It's a thing that you can use to brush your cat. You put it in your mouth like a pacifier.
Yep.
And then you can brush your cat with it.
Licky.
Oh God.
That is so unbelievably
There's
Asian.
the thing, and then you can just do that. Don't you think your cat deserves this?
So Japanese. It's so Japanese.
So
Is it?
dumb.
Is it though?
Yes.
They have some wacky tacky stuff over there, man. Like,
Is it really
The
Japanese?
things that they
Because
do to their pets is so weird.
yeah, some of the stuff is.
It's not even like
Embiggen yourself, Harry.
a cultural
how
thing.
much do I want to embiggen myself? Oh, sorry, that was miserable. I guess we'll have to see it again.
Apparently, there's a lot of no's in chat.
I
And
don't see
Cannibalistic
anyone
Wizard
in
said
chat.
effing furries.
Why?
Yeah. You can pet
God,
your
I see
cat.
Harry. I see Elwin talking. I see nobody else.
Dude, I can see everybody else talking.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy,
So-
YouTube being YouTube. What?
Oh, I'm on the Harry channel. That's why.
See, that's the premium
See,
way to do it.
okay. Before the show, I was looking. I kept asking Harry. I'm like, Harry, where's the show? It's not appearing on my like splash page. It always shows every night, no matter what, tuning in or not. It's there. I try to at least show up, drop a like, whatever.
Mhm.
Today, couldn't find it at all. Scroll down, and I thought I found it, but turns out it was just your channel.
It's because
Just.
YouTube,
Yeah, Harry.
YouTube
Just.
loves us. Well, YouTube likes me more than it likes Minions, apparently, and that's totally backwards. It should definitely
Hi,
not
chat.
do that.
I missed all the chat.
Because I feel like I'm most of why it hates Minions.
I don't know. I say some pretty nasty gamer words from time to time.
Yeah, apparently, just for a warning for everybody, they've extended the time for how long into the stream or into the video they will listen for a curse word, and they will hit you, like shadow ban you and
I
stuff.
think
Not
that's
shadow
kind
ban
of
you,
an
but
old wives' tale.
no, it's actually in the stuff now. I saw someone break down the new rule changes they just did, and actually read the parts that showed it. So I'm just giving a heads up for anybody who does videos other than just Harry. Just don't cut.
Well,
until the first
fescue.
minute.
That's terrible.
So
Okay, so we're actually pretty well behaved.
I'm not, but I try not to do it in the
Mostly.
first minute.
Yeah. I think we can manage to not fill the swear jar up too much in the first minute. or
Yeah, the
5
first
minutes.
minute. Especially after I was talking about kittens and not whatever Harry wants to.
Well, you didn't use the P word, so at least it
Terrorize
didn't
with-
confuse them. So,
Tats?
uh,
What is the P word? What is the P word? Is it pedagogy?
yes, that's the
Pedagogy?
P word.
That's what I thought it was.
There is no clean segue here. Hi, Serenity.
Hello.
How was your day / week?
It was good. I got my belated Christmas presents from one of my friends, which is I got a 20 millimeter D20 that's got liquid in it, in the center,
Ooh,
and it's pretty.
fancy.
It's very pretty. And then I got one of those like little owl plushie, like one of those little plushies that's reversible, so it shows happy on one side and mean on the other side when you reverse it. So I got my Christmas presents, so I was happy. And then I helped someone pack their house up because they sold their house, and now I'm here. That's about all my day was.
What people don't understand about D&D players is like the D20 is like one of the most important dice in the game. So like people like to have fancy D20s, and I totally respect that.
Well, I'm
Mhm.
also a dice goblin. I like the shiny, clicky, clacky math rocks. So
Oh
that's
yeah, me
also
too.
important.
Although with my game, it's mostly just D6 anyway. So
Yeah.
I've got like 50 different varieties,
Oh, yeah.
sets of D6s depending on my mood. And,
Same.
yeah.
Yeah, I used to occasionally take them to high school and roll one just to pretend that I was using that to figure out what to put on a test. Just to be
You were
annoying.
shooting craps out back with the other degenerates, weren't you?
Yeah.
Oh,
God,
no.
Harry.
Playing hooky, rolling dice,
Yeah,
Smoking the doobie.
popping pot and smoking reds.
dropping some bones. Were you dropping
Smoking
bones?
with the devil's lettuce. All the
God, we're
good
all
things.
old. Oy.
Well, the good news is none of us are as old as Skep, so that's
Well,
important.
Skep is like a primordial god. He predates all of us.
Yeah, he does. It's fine. Let's see. What is it? We've been chatting for 11 minutes. We should probably move on to the first thing, unless you guys want to talk about anything, really.
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, I'm going to make you regret knowing me for a moment. I have been
Make.
watching
Sorry.
Oh.
Buck Rogers, or rewatching Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Oh hell yeah!
Now, a thing that happens in a
From
lot
the
of these
90s.
shows from that time period is whether it was Chips or Buck Rogers, you always had to get roller disco in there somewhere because roller
Mhm.
Hell yeah.
disco is the greatest thing ever, and it will be around forever. And there's no time in the future when people will not be doing roller disco.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Which ironically, there's on Instagram, and I know there's been TikTok videos of people going to roller skating rinks and doing the dances there. So ironically, it is kind of sort of coming back.
ironically.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually picked it up on Blu-ray, and this is the from the Blu-ray. I took a screen capture. Now the lady in the upper right is Princess Ardala, and she's got the hots for Buck Rogers, so she's threatening to destroy the Earth unless she gets to marry him. Now, because this is the way the story should play out, but as part of the welcoming ceremony for her, so that hopefully she won't get mad and destroy the Earth, they brought out the entertainment, which is these 4 people doing roller disco with shiny, blinky roller skates and stuff.
With lights on their skates.
With lights on their skates. It's
And
so
their manotards.
incredibly bad.
What are those? Manotards?
That is just
Leotards?
Badass.
I don't know.
Leotards?
Unitards, I believe.
Something
Yeah,
tard.
Yeah.
I thought the female thing is the unitard, isn't it?
Well, they either one could be unitard or leonitard.
Oh, okay.
Leotard.
I thought there was a different name.
That's right. Roller disco is life.
Dang.
All right,
Not
Uzi.
wrong.
Yes,
Not
wrong.
Uzi.
Hey, Uzi!
Just add another reason to the list
Love
of
you,
reasons
Uzi.
why I like Uzi. Okay, yeah, I like that
Are
show
they drinking
too.
Tranya?
Yeah,
So
they're
your
probably
bright
drinking
green liquid.
Tranya. And just so you know, I am serious. I actually do have.
The
I'm
I'm
cosmic
on disc
whiz
3. I'm all the way up to Space Vampire, which is one of the worst / best episodes of season 1.
Planet of the Amazon women.
So anyway,
Never
that's what's
change,
going
Barry.
on with me.
Never
I've been
fucking
watching
change.
that.
Just never change.
Yeah. Well, in the world of entertainment, a whole ton of anime crap just dropped too,
I know.
right?
Mhm.
I mean, like a
Sorry, I was
lot.
taking a drink. Like
I mean, I'll
Trigun
agree
dropped
with you,
today.
crap.
I think a new episode of Bleach dropped recently.
Why did
Um,
Japanese use a French word?
Huh?
You were really low, Skep. I'm going to
weird.
turn your volume up again.
Why
Wait.
do the Japanese use a French word? Anime is a French word.
It's because they're obsessed with French, specifically Paris.
Oh, I thought anime was a
It is a shortened
American
version of
word.
animation, but they also have there's actually a thing in Japan, I think it's called Paris syndrome,
Mhm.
where they have built up Paris so much in their heads that when they go to it and see that it's nothing like what they built up in their heads, they actually have a nervous breakdown. I'm not kidding.
Wow. No, that sounds very Japanese to me. I have
Yeah.
no trouble believing that at all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
That really sounds true.
that's the reason why I think it's also because anime fits better with their syntax as well.
Oh, I know.
because
I was just having a bit of fun with it. I just
Oh,
think
no.
it's kind of fun that they use a French. It's actually a French participle that
Mm-hmm.
for their word for the same thing.
and in the words of Hate Camel, who's in the chat, animu.
Well,
But-
it's good that there's lots of things to watch because aside from rewatching 50-year-old television, because I can, there's hardly any reason to go outside because California is underwater, at least
Yep.
coastal California. We've been experiencing actual weather recently, which is unusual because usually it's just you wake up
Nothing.
and everything's beautiful and idyllic and you don't have any freedom and it's a terrible state, but at least the weather is nice. Well, we don't even have that now.
No freedom.
This is like what's left of one of the piers
Mhm.
in Capitola, just south of Santa Cruz. It's not faring particularly well in the large waves. We ended up getting really high winds
Mhm.
that coincided with lots of rain, which coincided with extremely high tides all simultaneously. So the water coming out of the rivers had nowhere to go, and the waves were being driven with incredible ferocity.
Holy crap!
So it just
It's
it
a
just
nice.
clobbered. Like this water is
Oh,
not supposed to
man.
be here. That's supposed to be over on the ocean part. That's not supposed to be in there.
Nice, good old fashioned trifecta.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't get hurricanes and things, so for us, this is like a big deal. And here's somebody's car underwater, and
Bomb
you know,
cyclones are not fun.
yeah, this is you're
Yeah,
gonna
and-
have a bad day if this is your business.
But
Mhm.
this in Florida, that's Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
it's the reason why I think like even though that's being reported on, most considering 80% of the population is on the East Coast, all of us are just like, okay, and
Well,
Yeah,
we did have some
right,
people
right.
actually die. I mean, it's not
yeah,
it's
it's-
not
it's-
completely trivial.
It's not unserious. It's not
Yeah.
unserious.
it's
Including
just,
some little kid who actually a big ass tree fell on her fancy house and then she died. I mean, it's just this little blonde
Yeah.
girl. So
Well,
it's
I mean, it's one
it's
of those
not
things
great.
like it's not untrivial. It's just it's one of those things like we're so used to it on this side, at least for me, like we're so used to because there's parts of the valley around here that flood like every about 5 years and
Yep.
some people die during it. And it's like I'm not trying to trivialize death, but it's just you get so used to it, you just kind of just you compartmentalize it and kind of just keep going. Like that's the only way I know to explain it. Like it's
Well, see, in the
sucks.
cities, because I know the only thing worse than a Californian is a city Californian, probably in your opinion. But we actually have
Depends on the
people
city.
who live not in the cities, and so the town of Boulder Creek is in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and
Mhm.
in the past, it rained so much there one time that a mountain essentially decided to just move about 20 feet.
yeah.
And it killed like
Mhm.
over 100 people at once,
Wow.
just
Mhm.
with this massive mudslide. So if you don't live in the city, you wherever it is, if you don't live in the city, you have to have a certain amount of fortitude, and you got to keep your head on a
Yep.
swivel and pay attention, because nature doesn't like you. It
Well, I remember
really just wants to kill you, slowly or
Yeah.
quickly. It doesn't really matter.
it was
Especially in-
years ago, but there was a video I remember. I think it was in Los Angeles when Los Angeles about 20 some odd years ago got really bad rain,
Mhm.
and it was somebody holding. And this is back before cell phones, so this is someone actually holding a fucking camera in the bed of a truck as a mudslide is just coming down this road at them, and it's hitting trucks and everything. And the video is kind of old. I think it was from the late 90s, very early 2000s, but it was just this slow moving.
Old.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, for some of our audience, that's old.
Well, some of
There's
you
just
who
no pleasing you Californians, is there?
There isn't.
It's too dry.
Oh no! I'm actually pretty happy. I'm actually pretty happy with it. In fact, my old nemesis, sixth grade science camp, got closed because of the weather. I kid you not. That place that I hate, sixth grade science camp, they made everybody go home because there was so
Nice.
much rain. I know. How sad. Those kids won't have their dreams crushed because they're going to be forced to go home and do something else instead.
Wow, Harry. Wow.
Hey, I like it. So there was that happened, and then here's the situation in San Francisco. There was so much storm runoff in the storm drains that essentially they started turning into geysers from the amount of water pressure.
They look
Again,
like
this is not normal for us.
looks like a water pad at like at a park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whee! All right.
You don't want to step in that because you don't
But
know
in
where
terms
it's been.
of
'cause
in terms of
it's
not complaining, this is me not complaining. These reservoirs, the big ones, are still actually pretty darn low.
yeah.
So
They're
I am more than
significantly
happy.
more.
So the large ones here are Shasta and Oroville in particular. With Oroville has 3.5 million acre feet of water,
Yeah.
and then Shasta's 4.5 million acre feet. That's a lot of water. Right?
Don Pedro
Or
seems to be
Chamonix.
doing pretty good though.
The smaller ones tend to be doing better. That's a pretty
Millerton.
good size one.
And Diamond
so
Valley are doing good too,
It
yeah.
can keep raining. I'm perfectly happy having way more of this. This is fine. This is good. The difference between now and a lot of times in the past is, yeah, we're getting a lot of rain, but the reservoirs are there and they can control most of the flooding. So it's fine.
Which is good.
By the
It's
way,
fine.
1 acre foot is about 1/3 of a million gallons.
How
3 acre feet is 1 million gallons.
how much water? How deep would the water be covering 1 acre of land, Skep?
Well, an acre foot is enough water to cover an acre of land about the size of a football field, 1 foot deep. Okay.
See, it's perfect. It's a perfect definition.
And
That is right. I think that is correct.
It is correct. I've complained about the state of California in the past, and we're not going to talk about this much longer, I promise. But I did want to point out that some smart people have actually figured out that maybe we should do something about all this water that we just send out to sea every time it rains a lot, so that we can stop
you
bitching.
mean like save it?
Yeah, so we could do like
to help with
this.
the drought. Wow.
New at 10, a
You getting
funding
audio?
boost for a major
Yeah, we are.
reservoir project in Colusa County. The department
Water to feed the needs of 5 million homes a year or 500,000 acres of farmland. That's enough water to cover every square inch of San Francisco 50 feet deep.
So you see this shitty part of California where this guy's standing in the middle of the road?
In all of California. This huge,
Yeah, see
naturally
that?
occurring bowl was
They're going to take that and turn it into 1.5 million acre feet of reservoir.
Nice.
And what's beautiful about this particular plan is because of the way the canals already go by to get water to Southern California, they only have to build 50 miles of new canal to get the excess water. So if there's extra water in the big reservoirs, they can just pump it into this thing.
Nice.
To my mind, this is the absolute minimum they should be doing.
Oh yeah.
You know, you should be doing way, way more of this. It bothers me, you know, that California wants to be this big, important state, but we don't have enough water for our agriculture, our industry, or our people.
But this looks like such low-hanging fruit, Harry.
It is. And I'm sure that there's some creature in there, some worm or termite or just something, some kind of rodent that lives there that's going to make it so we can't do this.
Yeah, is going to come out and say, well, you can't, you know, the snail darter is a, you know, no, it's not. There's nothing important about the snail darter.
Oh, maybe they'll find like a native artifact.
California cockroach.
Yeah,
they'll find like an arrowhead or something.
Right.
And
We named a variety of a species that has these certain characteristics. We gave it a name, and therefore you can't develop your society because we have to preserve this fiction. God, don't get me started.
Although I do
it's
have,
very, very important.
I do have to say I agree with what Green Badger Outdoors says. The streets of San Francisco haven't been this clean in years. I agree, Green Badger. I agree. Mind you, God knows what drugs are going to be in the ocean now. There's going to be some high-ass fishes.
10 points to Gryffindor for
Yeah.
Green Badger.
Fish on cocaine. Sign me up.
All right, I'm going to move past this because I know that it's only minimally interesting to anybody but me.
This is
I
agree.
Interesting to me. Very interesting to me.
Well, we had what I'm just classifying as speaker fight. Oh, shit.
By the way, just in case anybody thinks that the water problem is new in California, when I was living there between 1974 and 1980, they used to have public broadcasting commercials, and they telling you not to flush your toilet. They'd say, if it's yellow, let it mellow, big and brown, flush it down. Just the dumb commercials that urged you to conserve water, to put a brick in the toilet. Remember putting bricks in the toilet?
Well, that's because those old toilets used about 20 gallons of water per flush.
They got it done. That's for real.
Every flush is like a Vegas water show.
Yes,
especially if you put that blue dye pellet thing in the.
They now make lights you can put in your toilet. It's this way there's lights
actually
in the toilet.
that stuff breaks down in the dilution factors. It's not relevant, but there are other things that enter into it, specifically medicines that are starting to get into the water table. Is a little bit problematic.
I heard it does something to the orientation of the frogs, makes them glad or something.
Makes the fucking frogs gay.
Done that for years.
Yeah, but anyway, we had
I'm sorry, Susan. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We had a speaker fight. Everybody was very upset. Apparently, Matt Gaetz was leading, seemingly the guy leading the rebellion against McCarthy. Now, just to be fair, just because McCarthy's from California, I don't care. No. The only thing I see a few pluses for him. One is that he's kind of a mature adult who knows how to work with other people. And when you only control one house, it's kind of important to be able to do that. And he'd also be really good at fundraising. But the conservatives were thinking that he was not the guy that they wanted to have there. And after, 14 votes, he basically conceded on a number of points about some rule changes.
Yep.
Specifically, one that would make it a lot easier to kick him out if they decided to later.
Yep.
And is now the new Speaker of the House.
Yep.
Is that a pretty accurate description of what happened?
Yep.
That's as I understand it. How things go. It'll be interesting to see. One thing about McCarthy is once he's in a position where he has his feet under him, he's a formidable political thinker.
Well, I know that there was quite a number of Republicans who didn't like him because he seemed like he could almost be McConnell 2.0. We do not know yet, so we will give it time.
I think he
does.
is. I think he is that.
Yeah.
I think he absolutely is that.
That's part of the, and Crenshaw. God, what a little bitch. Yeah, no, it's. I am going to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That's all I got.
Herpodoctum's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in terms of the speaker's position, I mean, he wields a hell of a lot of power.
Well, I mean, as we saw with Pelosi, yeah.
Yeah.
She
he
flopped
gets to
that-
decide a lot what basically gets to the floor and what doesn't to
Yeah.
a very large degree.
She flopped that
And
power.
deciding
He
what
can
you
stop
don't vote on is
anything.
deciding what you're not going to talk about is a
Right.
pretty big deal.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing, like it's we're gonna see if he does what needs to happen and all this kind of stuff, but yeah, so
Well, I believe one of the other rule changes was something to essentially discourage or eliminate the use of these omnibus bills.
which I am all for. It's like we don't just do it a thing at a time.
I think I agree with Scott Adams. Everybody, the news was trying, which is just basically a gaslighting service,
Yeah.
was trying to
Yeah, no
convince
kidding.
us that that there was something wrong because they didn't just go in there and have one vote and then elect the person like the Democrats would.
Yeah.
This all seems really healthy to me.
Yes, it does to me too. It's like, of course, it's like this is the way this is the way a group of people one learns what boundaries the other side has. This way they can then use or not use that to their own means. But also it's kind of good for a person in power to not think they're untouchable. Like we saw what happened with Pelosi and Schumer and speakers from before them as well. Like when they think they're untouchable, they're useless. And they're just assholes.
Well, I think the democratic process here, where these guys had to work out their differences and reach a compromise within the party, I see it as entirely healthy. But the news wanted to make you think, oh, mom and dad are fighting. Maybe child protective, maybe the kid would be better off being raised by the state. No, you just shut up. You just, everything's fine. A bunch of liberal news commentators can just stay in their damn lane. Their comments are mostly just meant to sow dissent because they're just propagandists and everything they say is BS.
Oh yeah.
As I'm hearing and going, I don't care. Take 20 votes. It doesn't matter. In fact, if you want, you could spend the next 2 years voting and pass no legislation at all. I'd be fine. You know, gridlock is great, but they worked it all out and hopefully everything's going to be better now.
Love me some gridlock.
Love me some gridlock. 2 years of gridlock. Oh,
Well,
that's
I wish
so
they
like
all
heavy,
had
doesn't it?
tetanus so they couldn't talk.
well, it's one of those things where I like it because I agree with Harry because it shows that there's actually a processes being implemented, but also like if they can stop the omnibus bill bull crap, I am all for it because I'm getting tired of these. This is 4,000 pages and you have 24 hours to read it, and then we're just gonna pass it. Can we not do that, please? Can we stop that?
Yeah, no, it's much healthier for democracy if everybody in a smoke-filled room decides the conclusion ahead of time, and then you just show that you've got solidarity within your party.
Yeah,
Because that's how you know a party is really healthy, when there's just a lot of groupthink and
there's no
mindless
dissension. Yeah,
like, no dissension.
It's like, no, I think it's healthier that we have dissension because it shows that some people are, because we're human beings. We're not going to agree on everything. And if an entire unit of people is like, unless it's the military and you're in a military like a militaristic situation,
Or that
Like-
roller disco is awesome.
Yes, exactly.
We
Like,
agree on that.
exactly.
Still awesome.
Yeah, but it's
Still
one of those things
awesome.
that's like I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican or whoever, if it's a bunch of libertarians or a bunch of independents. Like, if there's not some people who don't agree all the time with other groups of people in that one unit, I don't trust you because I know you're lying. Someone is lying, and I don't know who it is, but I know it's one of you. And it's like I don't trust that because no group of humans ever fully agrees on everything. None.
No.
And it's like, I like
no.
this. I like the fact that it took 15 votes. I like the fact that maybe this shows the other side that, hey, if you win again, maybe you won't have to vote in someone you don't like. Maybe you can actually set the standard instead of just going, rub my tummy because I want my bill to go through. Like, it's just like, like you outnumber them. Yes, they're the speaker, and yes, they have a lot of control, but it's kind of like the president. You have a say. So use your say. To
And
go,
you would
no,
think-
we're not doing this.
Rub
You
my
would think
rub
with
my
them
tummy.
beating-
Oh my gosh. Go ahead. Sorry.
beating the diversity drum for as long and hard as they have, that true diversity of thought, the only important kind of diversity would be good, but
Yeah.
we all know that their definitions of things don't really align
Right.
with reality.
Have a great deal of variation. Let's go that way.
Well,
Yeah.
Functional, the news was busy telling me that what AOC's opinion was. And I'm
Like I care.
thinking to
Right.
myself, how this is relevant how? Well,
Yeah.
AOC thinks that the Republicans should put in a certain person. Oh, good. Let's
Trump?
take that person off the list.
Yeah, really. Let's remove them.
Yeah. Oh, fine. That's good. Give us the rest of the list of people you'd like to see as speaker, AOC. That sounds great.
And if you could be so kind as to talk to your friends Talib and I can't
Omar.
remember, Omar and
Yeah.
any of the other ones, or
Cory
Bernie,
Bush.
find out
Any
Bernie.
of that lot.
Find out what Bernie means, Booker. Just find out a whole list of people and just
think,
give us the list. This way we know who not to vote for.
I think Ilhan Omar's looking forward to National Brotherhood Week. She's got to go out and buy a gift.
New Yorkers love the Puerto Ricans because it's very chic. Everybody thinks
Absolutely. Sorry, Functional.
Okay.
I didn't mean to step on you there.
Well, you were stepping on me.
I thought so. You made
No,
a
it was
noise. I
me.
thought you
It
wanted
was
to
me.
talk.
I think it was
Oh,
Skep there, Baba.
Oh, I
I
stepped
think
on
it was
Skep.
me.
No, that's
Yeah, I
that's
think that
different.
was me.
Yeah.
Don't
So
step on
here's what I
Skep.
think. Here's what I think happened in this speaker fight. The conservative, the dissatisfied Republicans got the Republican establishment to look at them. They said, "Look at us," and on the first vote, and the senior Republicans said, "Okay, we're looking at you." No, you're not looking hard enough. Louder, look louder, look louder. They just kept doing that over and over until they got some concessions. So they kind of made them take them seriously for a little bit. I hope that the concessions are meaningfully complied with. There's compliance and there's compliance, and we'll see how that comes out, because the Republicans really need to be aligned against the Democrats. A Democrat majority in both houses, they were starting to get their act together to where they might pass some really mischievous legislation. And we are, people don't realize the inflation problem we're having right now, that is a direct result of the profligate spending of the last several administrations, the Trump and Bush administrations included, along with Obama and the current administration.
Clinton.
It's just absolutely what Clinton at least submitted a balanced
He was a
budget.
little bit more. Yeah.
He submitted a balanced budget because the Republicans, held the House of Representatives and said nothing's going to happen until you balance the budget, and they kind of held his feet to the fire. But that was the last time we submitted a balanced budget, was during the Clinton administration. Now we're reaping the whirlwind because people think, well, this inflation is transitory. No, it's not. It's baked in. That lack of value, that downward vector in the valuation of the real valuation of our money, what the basket of goods internationally that our money can buy, has been devalued by these assholes. It's absolutely unforgivable. It's a crime of epic proportion, and all of the people in charge, starting with Paul Krugman, need to answer for that. as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
Truly.
what if the money they printed was given to people who deserved it? What then, Skep?
You know, strangely, the money, the devalued money that's being given to the needy, they don't need devalued money. They need valuable money. They need money that buys things. What they notice is that on, you know, the people who are really at the line of subsistence in this country, they're the ones that for whom this is the cruelest, most regressive tax. It absolutely is. You know, when you look in terms of if you did a let's say, have you ever heard of this thing, Harry, where you look at a difference of one thing and you look at it in terms of the difference in the other differences over differences? You can call it a dx and a dy. Do you know what? Have you ever heard?
I think there's a Greek letter for that.
Yeah. It's probably nothing, but
yeah.
What happens?
Delta will get you there slowly over time.
Delta will get you there
slowly over time.
It's a change. It's a slow change. But all kidding aside, the change in the value of our money. Okay, that rate of change is constant for the whole population. The rate of change in how that affects people's day-to-day life is very different when you rate that change against change in income levels. People at the high income levels, it doesn't really affect them that much. People at the subsistence line, it's quite dramatic, and people have this linear prejudice in their mind. I think all relationships are linear. Believe me, that's one of the most non-linear relationships you can talk about. You talk about cutting off food to your kids. Sorry.
Yeah. Or if you're Jenna, power and take away their electricity and their door. Yeah, she's got strong parenting skills. It's pretty impressive.
She does.
Because it had never occurred to me once that if a kid misbehaved that you would just take the power away to their room. Oh, I'm just going to go in my room and play with my devices. No, you're not. Well, not for very long.
Good luck with that.
I think it would be a great passive aggressive thing to give them like a little generator that they could pedal.
I was just thinking that.
To recharge their devices. It's like, well, from now on, you have to make your own power.
I probably would have been that kid to be like, okay, well, screw you. I'm going to like pedal my way to play my Nintendo.
Exactly.
And fail miserably, but I would try.
Or save your money to get one of those little like solar panel, like little batteries off Amazon and like just put it in your window and hide it and then plug everything in and go, ha ha.
Life finds a way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like I'm a prepper or anything, but a long time ago, I bought a 60-watt solar panel that was foldable. Now, this thing is about the size of a large tablecloth. It's actually pretty big, and it cost me the better part of $1,000. You can now get a 100-watt foldable solar panel that's I think a quarter of the size for a little like 150.
Yeah, we have because of the snowstorms, we have a 160-watt foldable one that we got with a Jackery backup battery, and it was maybe $500 altogether.
How much you pay for that 40 meg MFM drive?
It was only 10 megs, my friend, and it was $1,000.
Yes,
everything is $1,000. It's like Rain Man. And how much is it? Oh, about $1,000. $1,000. I'm also
definitely $1,000.
Definitely $1,000. See, that's what inflation does. See, it used to be $100. Now it's $1,000. And Kmart sucks.
Kmart's gone.
Yeah, I know.
Australia.
But that was a line from the movie.
Oh, okay.
Kmart sucks.
Kmart sucks.
So this is the thing that happened. Psychologist Jordan Peterson could lose a license if he refuses social media re-education. Now, as I understand, I was kind of curious about what would be the metrics of success for this sort of thing, because a lot of people in modern life have, if you work for like a big company, especially in California, they'll trot your ass into some seminar and you'll sit there and just sort of nod and you can say training accomplished, checkbox, right? And I knew it couldn't be something that simple. This is where he basically sits down with a trainer And until they feel that his deficiencies of thought have been remedied,
And they have tape of him making certain statements.
they're not going to sign off on this thing. So he has quite correctly come back and said, no, how about I just sue you instead and you stop being a bunch of idiots? Because this board that basically gives certification, it's probably not the right word, to practicing psychologists in his area,
Yeah, we have
this
these,
power over him.
well, yeah, it's a lot more complicated than that. We do have, and I'm thankful for the fact that we have these governing bodies that are supposed to weed out bad practicing doctors of all kinds. And so there's the main medical board, and then there's subdivisions. So there's one for, psychiatrics, there's one for surgeons, there's one for GPs. And so it's good that, if there's malfeasance, you have somewhere you can directly, file a complaint or what have you, and they will investigate because they are an official governing body. Now, the company, because that's what they are, they're this weird advocacy group or whatever. They hold no power, and they're the ones who lodged this complaint because of his comments on social media. I don't think that it's going to hold weight on the medical board. I don't think that they're going to look at this with any sort of seriousness. They have said, okay, well, they've made a complaint, so we have to look into it. There's a complaint. We're looking into it. And that's all that's sort of been really released yet. But in his counter to it, Dr. Peterson has said, well, before this even gets off the ground, we're going to the Human Rights Tribunal to say, hey, look, they are trying to censor me based on we don't have freedom of speech, we have freedom of expression. It's slightly different things. And you know what? He will probably win on that side, because it's not really that hard to win within the Human Rights Tribunal in Canada, which is, again, a double-edged sword, because it's a tool like any other, like this medical board, that can be used properly or misused improperly, and it's up to the people who are in charge of these things to sort of, we abdicate them some sort of trust to act in such a way. So that's where we're at with this, as far as I understand it.
Okay, so you said that you like the fact that there's basically a body that has enforcement authority to deal with the bad ones. In the current day and age, wouldn't it be possible just to sort of have like Yelp reviews for, I went to this psychologist and they really helped me? Do they, for something like
I don't
this
know if
sort
they
of
have
stuff?
an online thing. I think there is. I'm pretty sure there is an online form that you can submit a grievance, a complaint.
But
Because
if
that's what
you
they're there
did
for, because
something
you have to
wrong-
remember, basically our provinces act as the insurance company.
Oh, right. So you're not actually paying for this, so you can't just vote with your feet and your dollars.
We can't vote.
They call them loonies.
For what?
I mean, the
governing?
point is, if they basically assign somebody to you, you say you need to go see somebody, and then somebody tells you go see Jordan Peterson or go see somebody else, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
No?
You get to pick and choose your doctor if you want. Yeah.
Hmm.
Of course. Like I walked into a doctor's office. This is how I found my doctor many, many moons ago, like over 2 decades ago. I shopped around. I went from GP to GP. I finally found somebody I really, really liked, and he really seemed to be genuinely concerned about me as an individual. So I was like, great. And we've been together for 20 years. Unfortunately, when Elwin entered the picture, he was way too backed up with patients to take a new patient, and
Right.
and her, not to get too much into it, her GP was kind of being a jerk with her records and everything. So there was that as well. But no, you can totally go from place to place. But again, because it's a socialized system, you don't want to report directly to the socialized system that's directly involved here, you want an oversight committee, which is usually made up of practicing other doctors. So the only ones that really the group that lodged this complaint, first of all, they're just some group who's angry about tweets or whatever, and I think on that basis alone, they should be like, no, get the hell out of here. And the state of Canada in general kind of makes me, at the federal level, kind of makes me a little apprehensive, going, this might get some traction, but hopefully his counter arguments to the Human Rights Tribunal could quash it outright, because they are a higher court in this country. And if they find that this group is trying to take away his freedom of expression via the legal system, they could get in a lot of fucking trouble. A lot of trouble.
What are the chances? What are the chances that court could find that way against this other group? Yeah, no, it's pretty.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I don't know that much about.
I don't even know how to estimate that.
I don't even remember what they're not the accreditation board. Something similar to that, but it's different. I don't think there is a small chance, maybe like a 1 in 4 chance, that it does get traction because of the interference that could happen at the federal level through the Trudeau government.
Yeah.
We know how fucking dirty and conniving that asshole is, and how he likes to get his grubby little fingers in local and air quotes state affairs that he really has no jurisdiction in, and does it anyway and gets his way because he's he can throw a temper tantrum.
He's a fucking prick.
Yeah, no, he is just a fucking prick. Like,
sorry to just reduce it to that, but that
he is. He really is.
He's
it's a provocateur with attitude, basically.
Yeah,
he's a garbage human being.
Arrogant human beings alive.
He truly is a garbage human being.
Yes, I agree. He is human garbage.
Who somehow made it to the highest office in my country, which
wow,
it's amazing. What good
upward.
Who's your daddy?
Yeah, he's failed. It's called failing upward, and it
yes,
happens more
exactly
often than you might think.
Excellent.
I mean,
excellent.
we see that. We see that in the three big Western nations. We see it in your country. We see it in my country, and we see it across the pond in England. These people are failing upwards because, and sorry to get a little fucking ranty and hot under the collar, because not enough people are taking the time out of their day away from their fucking TikToks and Vines and whatever the fuck the kids are watching these days. I know I'm using kids hyperbolically to actually pay attention to what's going on in politics past the fucking news narratives. It infuriates me, because even if you took 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of your day to listen to what's being said about the topics du jour, even the most humdrum Joe Lunchpail six-pack would understand that what's going on is bullshit.
Well, I still think, and kind of in my small L libertarian way, that because of all the modern technology that we have now and how easy it is to get information, that in a lot of ways, that these boards, I can see them setting standards and saying you need at least this many hours of continuing education, you need these types of things to basically get our certification. But the idea that they need to thought police,
those are minimum competency standards. That's the way medicine and law and accounting have always done.
And that's
what this board seems like it's not fit for purpose anymore. Exactly. And honestly, if you just got the Yelp reviews for, I went to this person and they helped me, or I went to this person, they were an idiot, they didn't listen, they didn't give me any helpful advice, I don't feel any better. You could just decide who was competent and who wasn't without this board even existing.
Canadians can't do that, because the board has decided what Canadians can do, and that's not one of the things they decided Canadians can do. So that's it, Mr. American.
Yeah, well, healthcare is too expensive. We should make sure there's a cartel that limits the number of people that are able to prescribe medications and make it really hard for you to get them without going to see an expensive doctor. Jesus. If you have like a UTI, okay, that's just something that
Harry, I told
for
you
a
that in
moment-
confidence. What the fuck, man?
Imagine you're a woman, you have a UTI, you've had one before, you know what it is, you know what the problem is. Instead of going to just the pharmacy and buying like the real medication, they give you the crap medication, and then you get to suffer until you can get a doctor to write you a prescription for something that isn't stupid. And it's pointless. It's pointless.
And yes, exactly. Why do we require a prescription for Bactrim? For fuck's sake. And Bactrim is sulfamethiazone. It's one of the sulfa drugs. And it's I think it is. Anyway, it's an oldie but a goodie antibiotic. And when you said UTI, that's exactly what I was thinking for. That's what they give you is Bactrim or Septra. Those are all the same basic drug. And there's no reason for that to be under prescription. All of our prescription medication laws, at least in the United States, as far as I'm concerned, are antiquated, and they are nothing but little islands of power that bureaucratic doctors, especially a lot of doctors who found it more felicitous to go into the study of public health than it was to, endure the daily grind of practicing medicine, which is what it is. People don't realize how physically hard it is to practice medicine. Those guys work their asses off.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these mediocre Kamala Harris lawyer types only in doctors' coats. And I'm not saying it's not affirmative action. It has nothing to do with race or ethnicity. It has to do with competence, with people who, got into something suddenly, they were in medical school because they didn't know what else to do. And they were bright people who got good grades. And then they get through, they're dissatisfied. They're not psyched up to be doctors, and they make crappy doctors. There are a lot of crappy doctors and a lot of crappy woman doctors being produced by the medical schools right now. Women doctors who get out and don't practice medicine. Look at the non-practicing people not in medical practice 5 years after they completed their residency is a huge waste. It's a complete fucking broken system as far as
I mean, like the Ross School of Medicine.
Yeah. And then
Well, I have friends. I actually have friends who use Kaiser Permanente, which is this big not-for-profit medical foundation here in California.
It's a PPO out there.
They are huge. I mean, it's a huge organization. Insofar as when you want to do research on something, certain types of investigative studies, or do kind of data mining for public health stuff during the COVID times, they did a lot of that stuff there because they've got hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people that they basically treat. So they not only are the insurer, but it's sort of like a little mini version of the Canadian system. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet once you buy your way in.
Right.
And as long as you don't wander outside of their network, you're actually 100% covered. It's good insurance for what it is, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. If it's something that'll work for people, fantastic. But they have a ton of people that come in from like the Ross School of Medicine and a lot of foreign schools. And that doesn't mean that they're bad. It does mean that a lot of times they may not have empathy over certain types of problems, or their communication can be really bad.
No, there's a difference between someone who went to medical school at University of Indiana or Purdue or some University of Michigan, good state school, as opposed to something like Georgia Southern, which is which always gets ranked as one of the bottom medical schools
or McGill
in the United States.
Or McGill from Canada. It's a great medical school.
Yeah, McGill's one of the best medical schools on earth.
It is.
You just don't know.
I had a GI guy who was from McGill. He was impressive dude. Anyway, sorry, go on.
I'm an orthopedic surgeon who graduated from McGill, and he rehabbed my knee. I'm very grateful to him. He's a really, really good guy. Yeah, McGill people, it's like they're Harvard.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I do think that this is going to be what do you call them? Watershed moments, a pinnacle moment to for me, at least for me, on a personal level, to whether I still have faith in my country or it's time to throw up my hands and go, fuck it, I'm done. This is beyond reproach at this point, because if it does go much further than just a cursory examination to say this is kind of bullshit, get away from us, or if they actually pursue it and say, yeah, you know what, we are going to have to take this more seriously. Oh man, so it'll be telling either way.
Well, I have a question for
knucklehead.
Functional or Serenity. Have either of you ever been to Mexico?
No. I've only been to northern Mexico. That's it.
Okay. Have you been to Mexico?
I've been to
Functional?
Texas. No.
Okay. No, that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
For the purpose of this
I thought that
question,
was
it's not
northern
the same thing.
Mexico.
No, for the purpose of this conversation, it's not actually Mexico. So, when you fly into an airport in Mexico, you are greeted with the following sight as an American, or I guess probably as a Canadian, which is completely shocking. You will see them openly having like drugstores in the airport that will tell, like, oh, you want Cipro? We got Cipro. You want levofloxacin? We got levofloxacin. You can buy all the boner pills and antibiotics and most of the pain meds that you would want to buy just there. No prescription, no problem. And
you can't get the pain meds. You can't get
not all of them. Not all of them, but you can get stuff that's available in the US.
You can't get opiates without a prescription.
But you could probably get salsalate and a bunch of other things. The point being that that there are a lot of things in the US that you cannot get without a prescription that you can just get in Mexico without one. So they don't have they don't spend nearly as much money for their medical care, and they have a state-run system like you guys do. But because they've deregulated so much of it, and it's just incumbent on the consumer, a lot of stuff just costs a lot less, which is great because they don't have nearly as much money. I would like to see more physician's assistants. I would like to see I would like to see the medical system where people basically rate doctors, it's like a satisfaction thing, rather than it being a cartel where they control, for the sake of the doctors, they control who can practice medicine more.
Of course, that's the control of the cartel is passing to the insurance companies and to some political drivers.
Well, they're jerking each other off. We talked about the whole pharmacy manager thing like about a year ago, as I recall. It's very incestuous.
Yeah.
Because the insurance company decides which drug gets picked and put on the formulary, and then the whole thing with the pharmacy managers, it's pretty terrible. But we probably don't want to get into that any further than we have.
I'm shutting up.
No, you're fine. It's my fault. This is a thing that happened. Dungeons & Dragons' new license tightens its grip on competition. Would one of you, Serenity or Functional, like to talk about this?
Don't know much. Serenity probably knows more. I know that this had happened previously to the Warhammer world.
Yes.
And it's still ongoing, but I'll let Serenity, because she's
so far this is not the full change to the OGL, which is what's called open gaming license.
The original one was 2000 was the last version of it, right?
Yep.
That's 1.0 was 2000. Okay.
Yeah. Basically it meant that you could, it's the reason why Critical Role exists. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it exists. Under that, you could create content, all that kind of stuff, even if it involved their races, their world, even some of their worlds and stuff like that. And you could make profit off of it, and they couldn't claim anything. They are changing it, most likely because of stuff like Critical Role and Dropout 20 and all this other stuff that are doing making games.
So what is
people who are
critical,
making big bucks playing
Role?
D&D on YouTube and Twitch, etc. They're streaming the game.
Critical Role is a streaming group.
They're the
on
biggest.
YouTube.
Yes,
okay.
They are the biggest on Twitch.
They are a group of actors and voice actors from California. They came together, did a little, whatever, and I'm trying to make it as simple and
well, I was going to do the opening Matt Mercer always does. They're a group of nerdy ass voice actors who've gotten together to play D&D, and that's what they do. Basically it's live action role play for people to watch because they almost never get in combat and they don't always listen to the rules. But anyway, that's what it is.
So in other words, normal D&D.
No.
It's
least
like
my-
dribbling. It's like dribble. What is it? Double dribbling in the NBA. If you're a big star, they don't pay any attention.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
it's more the GM,
Traveling.
which is Matt
Traveling.
Mercer, doesn't pay
Traveling.
attention because
And double
God
dribble
forbid,
too, by the way.
But at least
Seems to pick
for
it up.
my group, we're pre-rules in. But anyway, they're changing the OGL so this way, if you make print content, so books, stories, any of that kind of stuff, if you make over, not in profit, just over $750,000, you then owe Wizard of the Coast royalties. If you do a Kickstarter, you owe you owe royalties, but instead of being the 25%, you owe 20%, because Kickstarter and Wizards of the Coast did a back end deal where they've agreed to this. If you go through any of the other like fundraising services, like Indiegogo or any of that kind of stuff, you have to pay 25% if it raises over $750,000.
If it's basically a franchise fee, okay.
Yeah, some of that kind of makes sense. Like if you're making like the old D&D novels, obviously they had to get the license to make that kind of work. So that I get.
Well,
kind of.
the problem is that this should have been changed a while ago, if that is what they wanted to occur, because they had the capability with Critical Role to do that. Like, go, hey,
Well, no, not with Critical Role, because Critical Role's making their own thing. Like again, their prime cat. Can you knock it off? Their bread and butter is the show, is them playing the game.
yes, but they have a thing
Now-
called Darrington Press, which prints books of the stuff.
Okay, that I didn't know, and that I would
that-
kind of look at a little bit more skeptically and go, well, you are taking their IP and turning it into a physical medium in which to sell. That's kind of gets into that area.
Well, and that's the thing, is that because like people can make their own like supplemental adventures. Like there's another company called Green Goblin Press who does that, and they didn't have to pay anything to Wizards of the Coast because it was a supplemental adventure. We put all the work into the supplemental adventure.
Well, that's what Gygax wanted. He wanted people to create new stuff for his system.
And that's basically
Gary Gygax is the inventor of Dungeons and Dragons.
And that's basically what's happening, is
Nerd.
Wizards of the Coast is slowly taking that away, because we still don't know what if they're changing the other licenses that are involved, because this is only the dribble of water that we're getting about what small bits they are changing. Now, this doesn't change. Critical Role, the live show, doesn't get hit. If you make fan art, that falls under fan creation, which basically means you can't make money off of it. So that is not held to that. Anything that is under the fan label, you can do, but you're technically not allowed to make money on it.
Right.
So
are they doing anything with any like moral suasion kind of things as far as like morality play, like saying you can't play Dungeons and Dragons unless you have a certain percentage of elves of color or overweight dwarves?
They can rescind your license if under the new license there's some moral crap in there about how they can yank your license if they think you've committed wrongthink of the PC variety.
Oh, that's a good start. That's a good start if they can begin to control everyone's thought.
Yeah, I think
that's
it's
the beginning of wisdom.
Well, and the thing is like with this, if that's the case, people will go to Pathfinder, they'll go to that's one of the things like that's both good and bad about D&D getting mainstream, is that there went functional. D&D getting mainstream, but it's also exposed people to a lot of other ones that don't do this. Like my favorite
D&D is still by far, I mean, like the way that Twitter is dominating in its market, D&D is dominating in that market.
It does, but it's not dominating it by that much. Pathfinder is right behind them. And Pathfinder in many cases
Are you saying that there are as many games of Pathfinder played in the United States as there are D&D? I'm asking legitimately because I don't know.
Pathfinder makes more money per year.
No. Yeah, but I know.
But that might be the only number we have, though.
But
Okay.
the thing is, from what I know, because I personally prefer the Pathfinder system to the D&D, but the group I play with likes 5e. Pathfinder is a more preferred system because they allow you more customization. This is getting into details that no one else is going to give a shit about. But
And
that's
Pathfinder
basically
is
what it
not from Wizards of the Coast?
No, it's from Paizo. And Paizo is very well known for being very open. They have not changed their open gaming license.
And so it's on the 1.0 open gaming license. And now with
They're
this
on-
change, they're
they're
going to
o-
want more money.
No, Paizo does
Hmm.
not is not part of this. This is
Okay.
this is Wizards of the Coast's own version of the OGL. Paizo has their own that they fall under. So they're not changing the overarching license for everybody. This is what Wizards of the Coast is putting out and saying. So Paizo has left theirs alone because I don't think they're that stupid.
Well, they have an existing. Oh, okay. So
So-
D&D as a property isn't owned by Wizards of the Coast,
Yes, it is. It's owned by Wizards of the Coast. D&D
but
is.
Paizo has a different license from.
Yes, because
who?
Paizo is owned by a different. The open gaming license is a license that they put out themselves. It's not an actual like physical license. It's basically just a coding of law saying of rules of like, if you use this, understand these are our rules. If you're using our stuff to make money, we can do this. And every single gaming group, gaming system has their own OGL. Like Call of Cthulhu, which is the one I prefer, along with Pathfinder, they all have their own OGLs saying what the people can do and not do with it. This is just Wizards of the Coast's OGL for the people who use their own system. This is not something that's put out by the government. This is not something like that. This is just them saying, if you use our stuff, this is the license that you are agreeing to. If you agree to this license, if you do this, you owe us money.
Okay,
So
this
if you're-
is interesting. Is I'm looking at a comparison between. Here's what Game Rant says. They say both games have their pros and cons. Dungeons and Dragons is certainly the more popular of the two, as the game has enjoyed a distinct renaissance over the past few years and is easily the most successful tabletop RPG of all time. On the other hand, Pathfinder is essentially an expansion of 3.5e D&D, which many consider to be one of the best editions of D&D. Neither one is a bad game. In fact, some of the best games ever made, even beyond tabletop games, worth checking out both. But there are some key differences. Then it goes through. Anyway, the Game Rant article on I'll stick it in chat is really worth reading if you want to understand the differences between the games and where they stand.
But if you're basically creating a work for profit or a fan thing that ends up making too much money, they want a taste.
They want royalties.
They basically want a piece of the action. Put it in ox mix terms.
Yeah.
In some ways, this is preferable. Maybe not as good as the Star Wars situation. I wanted to bring Functional in on that because Star Wars has a really nice fan system in terms of producing fan-related stuff for Star Wars. They really encourage it, which from a business perspective is, I think, amazing and fantastic.
Well, of course,
versus
George-
Star Trek, which likes to just do the full George Floyd thing on people who try to do anything that's actually worth doing.
Cease and desist at anybody and everybody, yeah.
Which, of course, brings up Axanar, which is my personal pet peeve. But can you describe the Star Wars system? Because do you know about the Star Wars fan system for producing stuff?
All I know-
I have to go take care of dogs. I have to say one thing real quick.
Okay, sure.
The only reason why Star Wars is that open is this way George can take whatever he wants. But that's my entire thing. But y'all have
Cynic.
fun. I'll be right back.
Cynic.
That's a little bit cynical, but it was part of the spirit of the contract with Disney that, he still wanted to keep that spirit of his IP flowing. Disney agreed up until the point where George, and then they'll probably just be like, yeah, well,
Making
time to get our
your
payment.
fans hate you is not a good business strategy, in my opinion.
Yeah, neither is making completely garbage content. But I mean, here we are.
Yeah. I mean, Axanar was a big production. They did a big crowdfunding thing, and they were going to produce a 90-minute movie, essentially a 90-minute movie based in the Star Trek universe with special effects that were almost as good as the special effects. So you couldn't even look at it and go, oh, that's a fan thing. You would look at it and think, this is a Star Trek product.
Yeah, it was
that's
a
coming
huge
out.
passion project.
It was a huge passion project. And
so many things, right?
And this first thing they started with is they actually made something that fans like because they were fans and they were making something they like. They weren't trying to come up with toys and
The
games
message.
and any of this other crap. All they wanted to do was produce something that didn't suck. I like Axanar, but at the same time, I know enough about copyright law to know why they got their pee-pee whacked.
Yeah.
You know, but the Star Wars universe has a much nicer relationship with its hardcore fans in that it really, for whatever reason, is a lot nicer to them in terms of, hey, you want to make a little movie about us? Fine. Show up at a convention. You can show it. And, we'll just make sure that it's labeled as fan fiction and everything's just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that. But at the same time, the Star Trek thing was really kind of brutal. Let's see. Prelude to Axanar. There's a whole thing about the lawsuit here. So they ended up, let's see, filed a motion to dismiss or strike Paramount and CBS's claim because they tried to sue them. The motion to dismiss the lawsuit was denied. Later that month, J.J. Abrams said that within the next few weeks it will be announced this is going away. Well, it didn't go away. Nope. Abrams didn't really want a big dust up with hardcore fans at the same time as he was trying to produce one of his shitty movies. Paramount and CBS released new fan film guidelines, which Axanar staff described as disheartening and draconian. Alec Peters, basically the guy who would be playing Captain Garth and the guy behind the whole thing, had several times suggested that the right holders should issue guidelines to fan filmmakers, even going so far as proposing some prior to the CBS official guidelines release. Yeah, it'd be nice if we knew what we were allowed to do and not do ahead of time. So at least as shitty as the open license version 1.1 is, at least you sort of know where you stand ahead of time. I mean, clarity is good in these sort of situations, I think, even though I think the franchise fees are a little bit much. Just my opinion as somebody who does not have a dog in this fight.
Where do you think the protection line should be? How hard should they make it, or what rules should surround someone's ability to use someone else's idea to make money for themselves? How much protection should be extended to the Star Trek group people who come and say, hey, what we have is something that is fragile. And if there are people out there making money by doing satire and thereby making the public like us less, how do you balance their right to express themselves and make that movie, which that kind of has my heart, against the very real need for protection of intellectual property of the people who invested money and created Star Trek and so forth and so on, have something to protect? That is a hard calculus. That is a hard knot to cut, in my opinion.
I think if you look at it from the business case, it becomes a lot simpler. There are the legal rights of the people who own the IP, right? And that's one thing. We want content creators to be able to, like Birdemic, right? That guy put all of his energy into making Birdemic one of the worst / best movies ever made.
Yeah.
Birdemic is amazing. So I wouldn't want somebody to go out there and just steal Birdemic from that guy. Right. We want to protect the little guy. What we don't like is the fact that big evil companies are putting their foot on the neck of small fan / creators that are trying to do stuff, or little startups. If you look at Apple and computer peripherals, Steve Jobs would intentionally, I believe, make peripherals that suck, like a mouse that causes carpal tunnel syndrome in approximately 15 seconds, to sort of encourage people to make third-party peripherals for his product. Smart business people in many situations will do something like that. But if you've got dumb people that just want to defend their IP, arduously, I'm not sure there's anything you can do about it. I don't think we can just hand wave and, you know, sort of moralize our way into a position that's going to make everybody happy. I think the businesses are smart to let an ecosystem for the fans develop. You just need to make sure that certain key things are there, that you're not allowing them to do something in a way that compromises your intellectual property, where you're basically losing it, right? So you have to make sure that it's labeled in particular ways. It doesn't present itself as something that it's not. That's critically important. And it should acknowledge that a limited grant is being offered to use this IP in a very specific sort of way.
Okay,
right?
so
you with me so far?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
you come down. What I hear is you come down very strongly in for the protection of the intellectual property. Apparently, even at the expense of the person publicly expressing themselves, making a public movie using these ideas, these characters, these tropes.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for the lifetime of the author plus 70 years, though.
That's the other thing.
We've tried to make the mouse so happy that we've essentially made copyright law that is not fit for purpose. I don't care if Disney wants to keep the mouse exclusively to themselves. We shouldn't be internationally redefining copyright law all the time to keep Disney happy. You've had it for 50 years. You've got a good run. You know,
look at our copyright law. Look how old it is. We used to think in terms of protecting copyrights for a certain number of generations of information. Those generations of information were 20, 30, 40 years. Back in the early 20th century, late 19th century, when this stuff was being formulated. We need to change our copyright laws so they look more like patent laws. And they need to have much shorter run times, and after which time, it's ollie income free.
Yeah,
I think that will lead to a more vibrant intellectual. And the other thing is, it will probably stimulate more production by authors. I think more and better production. But
well, I mean, a lot of these things are work. Writing. Putting together like Axanar, it's a lot of people put a lot of work and a lot of heart and sweat into putting that thing together. It looks great. I really want to see I wish I could just give them some money under the table and say, send me the 90-minute version. I will not share it with anybody. I just want to see the full version of this. I don't want to see 2 15-minute movies that are disconnected, which is what they're going to be able to do. But anyway, enough about Axanar and what I care about. This Wizards of the Coast thing, I'm a little conflicted. I kind of feel like I want to defer to you, Functional and Serenity, because it really affects you guys, and it doesn't affect me at all at this point in my life.
It's your world, not ours.
Do you think this is going to really screw up a lot of the third-party products, or do you think people are just going to get in line with it and it's going to be a nothing burger?
I think because on the one hand, yes, I want the owners of the IP to be able to dictate how their IP is used and what kind of, if extraneously from the company, somebody's making some kind of content and is profiting off of it. If it's just free content, I think that, and it falls under fair use. I don't think that they can or will go after it in any meaningful way. They might go the Games Workshop route and just use these cease and desist letters as sort of like a law cudgel, because most fan creators of Warhammer content can't afford to fight this in a court, so they usually just capitulate. Because like who said it in the chat? Maybe Assassin. Yeah, exactly. Paramount should have approached the Axanar people, and instead of saying, no, you can't do this, and maybe they did, who knows, and in what tone, who knows, but said, you know what, what you've put on screen, your little 2-minute trailer is amazing. Come work for Paramount. We're working on a new show. Maybe even like produce Axanar and use our studio and our resources. And you would get so much fan clout because people would go, wow, Paramount is picking up these people, that's incredible. They could fumble it, like, again, drawing from my own knowledge base of Games Workshop and Warhammer, they kind of fumbled it in that they said, all your base belong to us. All your content now belongs to us. If not, we're going to sue you into oblivion, or you can come work for us. So these people, a lot of them did start, quote unquote, working for Games Workshop, but you immediately saw the quality of the product dip.
Yeah.
Varying from product to product, but the quality of the product did dip.
Well, if Paramount had a license like the open game license version 1.1, Axanar could be made.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. And that would be fine. So, I mean, I see it as kind of glass half full, maybe half full of urine, but I mean, it's still a manageable situation. I would think
half full of mine.
Yeah, and I think that companies should take it on a case-by-case basis, and if they feel that strongly threatened about something, then maybe take it the legal route. But for the most part, what you're getting is free advertising for your product. You really are. With something like Axanar, they're not looking to make money off of it. They're just looking to make a production that's something that the need to produce works of art, to innovate new technologies, and et cetera, like, it transcends the monetary veneer of it all. For a lot of people just want to make something really cool that'll be remembered, and that's something that I get the feeling of from the people behind Axanar. And for them to produce this, it would open up the doors for so many new people and current fans to be like, wow, especially with the fallout from the most recent Star Trek products, to be like, wow, this is incredible. Look at that CG. Look at it. That is better.
It's like
better.
Real actors and stuff. I'm sorry. This is I want to see Axanar so much more than any of the crap that they're
It's
making.
so good. Man,
that's the
look
problem.
at
It's
this
too
is
good.
better than JJ Trek.
It's too good. Oh, look,
And
they
it's
have
older.
real actors again. Yeah.
So good. The lighting is a little off for what Star Trek has, but it still fits.
It's fine.
It's still, like, we talked about this briefly after last week's show about how the new Trek, it had all the names, it had all the right figures or whatever, but didn't have the spirit of what Trek was, and that was what turned so many people off. This has both the aesthetic and the feel of what Trek is. I know we can't listen, but guys, if you even somewhat like Star Trek, check out. Yeah,
I put the link in the chat.
Check it out, because this project, even though they're being hit with the hammer, they're still trying to get stuff done.
That costume work is good. It's not CGI. The prosthetics are actually decent. Yeah,
Your Vulcan, for those people who don't know, Vulcan is a very hot planet. Overall, it's a very, like, extremely hot for our standards, human standards, hot planet. So to have that powerful lighting, the refraction off the background, the generally overly exposed exposure to sort of signify to you, hey, yeah, this is a very bright, hot sort of setting. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And now we can go full meta. You can have Interlude, which is a fan film about a fan film.
Well,
I mean, also look at
how do we know we're not in a fan film?
I'm screwing up my own show again, because here we're supposed to be talking about this. Now we've only got almost everybody's left because I'm just talking about Star Trek. I'm sorry.
Please come back to the show. Please come back.
Please come back. Don't leave us.
We'll talk about.
But even the Star Trek Continue stuff from Vic Mignogna and crew, that was great. That was a great sort of epilogue. I will call it an epilogue, not a continuation of the original series, by people who loved the subject matter and who put a lot of heart and soul and gave it the soul of Trek. That's end of my rant.
Oh.
We've got to find a happy medium between, you know, protecting people's IP, whether it's an individual or a big faceless corporation, and
For
fair use.
$120, I can get a signed photo from Wilma Deering from Buck Rogers. The funny thing is, I'm actually half tempted to do it. Okay, down, Harry.
I jumped that.
I'm going to shift gears ever so slightly. There was a thing that happened. I was watching this video because, you know, the problem with cops is the few bad ones that are there are really annoying. So look at all these guys. They go blowing through this intersection, right?
The guy stops.
And so this guy stops on his motorcycle, right? He's there. He's got his little 360 camera. And so the cop, instead of chasing those guys, decides to pull him over and give him a hard time because he was revving his engine. The guys who blew through the intersection, he completely ignores them.
People breaking the law.
And I'm not saying all cops are bad, but geez,
He
there's
picked
way
off
too many of them.
He picked off the weakest of the herd.
Yeah.
And separated him from the herd. He's just a predator, and he's going after a prey animal.
Yeah.
He's taking a buck. That's all.
We got to let you know that our community doesn't appreciate your kind. Spread the word to your friends.
Yeah.
You mean the ones that all drove away?
I wouldn't let the sun set on you here.
Yeah.
The reason why I pulled you over was to intimidate the fuck out of you. How am I doing?
Yeah.
Beta boy.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't understand how these bad cops can think that they're going to keep getting away with this shit with the interconnectivity we have and the immediacy of, like, this guy's recording everything.
Yeah, in 300 with a 360 camera. Those new 360 cameras are pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and if he took this to you know, whatever institutions they have to report on misconduct, I would hope that he could win with this evidence and say, look, I didn't do anything wrong. He wanted to make something up.
Yeah, if we're retraining people, how about this cop instead of Jordan Peterson? I mean, just throwing that out there.
Why not?
Don't
fucking do it.
So I needed to buy a new printer. About every 10, 15 years, I buy a printer that's way better than what I actually need. And then I just use it until it dies. Because that's my business model for buying printers.
So your last printer was a dot jet?
Well, I mean, my first printer was an NEC P6 dot matrix, which I actually had a PostScript interpreter for it. So I was printing.
Was a parallel or serial interface?
Parallel.
Good man.
Parallel port. So
How
it had that. And then I got an inkjet printer, which actually was pretty darn good. And then later, sort of working into the business world, I got this thing at Micro Center on sale. My main requirement as time went on was it had to actually understand PostScript. I didn't want to have any of this ridiculous PCL driver BS going on.
I was just going to say, how about the PCL thing?
I just want to send it PostScript, and I want it to just do the right thing. And there's been sort of no looking back after that. So I go to buy a printer. And so you go on Amazon, and this is one of the ones I was looking at. So here's this Kyocera. I like Kyocera. You go scrolling down, and okay, here's all the stuff for it. So here's this woman. Here's a black woman. Here's another dark mocha woman, and then a woman of something. And then there's like two other women and a black guy. And I'm not sure what's going on there. And then there's some more women. It's like,
are you sure this printer is maybe just only for women?
I don't think it prints in black and white. I think it only prints in black. I mean,
yeah.
Or it's like
you might be right. It may not have a white color.
I don't feel like I'm being properly represented by any of this advertising.
Fair enough.
I mean,
it's a good thing you can't be discriminated against.
It's a good thing I can't be discriminated against.
Can I just?
I mean, I don't care. I don't care. But go on.
Just call out a weird parallel.
Yeah.
It's going to seem to be utterly unrelated, but just hang with me for a second. Yeah. So I'm in the VA hospital, not actually fairly long ago, 4 or 5 months ago. And I was idly waiting to see the doctor and, kind of going through it. Oh, employee of the month. and it had Employee of the Month for all the different departments, along the wall there, and it has their picture.
Mhm.
And so I was going through looking there, and each month, I mean, it's like 24 or 26, I can't remember. I think it was 24 employees were singled out as Employee of the Month in their department. And they get special things. They get a special place to park and extra money and stuff like that. They had selected by their managers as Employee of the Month. 100% of those employees were Black. Period. 100%. That's amazing what they're doing with Black people at the VA hospital in Dallas. Those people are the best performers there.
I bet they're only hiring the most qualified and best, hardest working people.
That's
there,
how
too.
that's how they're getting to be the best. And
That's how they
we're
know.
We're proud of that.
They're known for their high standards and stuff. So the next thing was this that we already showed functional, because that's a thing. So
I can't unsee somebody licking their cat. Yay.
So under what makes me happy today was this story. 4 alive in miracle after car plunges off California cliff. Now,
What?
yeah, so this
The
car,
dad's a doctor, right?
the car fell off this California cliff and went down and crashed on the rocks down below, which are apparently not going to show up now because that's the way that works. But yeah, they took a big old fall and then went all the way down, and it was a Tesla, and all these people survived, which is great. It's nice to know that they're building Teslas with safety features that protect people like that, because honestly, that's one of the things I kind of worry about.
I tried to kill my family, but I was unsuccessful in my murder-suicide because
it doesn't say anything about him killing his family or a murder-suicide there. It actually says it here.
Yeah, I was about to say, wasn't it like he was actually did it intentionally and tried to blame the Tesla?
Of course he did.
In their Tesla.
Yeah.
Investigators say this was no accident. Tonight, the father, who's a local doctor, is under arrest, and neighbors are stunned. Eyewitness News.
So you'd already heard about this story, apparently.
My mom told me about it. My mom told me about it.
So it went from what makes me happy to, and now I'm annoyed again. So I was thinking that the Tesla was a really good car. Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden,
Tesla.
Yeah, but that was a hell of a crash. I'm really surprised that these people survived, because this is the thing where usually in the movies you just end up with the the fiery ball of explosion, and it's not like lithium-ion batteries are all that safe when they've been punctured.
Yeah, really.
Where is Montera? Is that around Montecito by any chance?
I'm not entirely sure.
Here, I'll tell you in a second.
Doesn't matter. It's on the California coast, but it's like SoCal.
Oh, it is? It's SoCal?
It's the SoCal dad. I don't know where he was when he crashed, but it said the Santa Cruz rescue people.
It's in San Mateo County.
So it's further north.
It's near San Francisco. And
so he's from SoCal. He drove.
Yeah.
He probably drove as far as he could on his Tesla before the batteries ran out.
Yeah, probably.
Chucked it off a cliff.
Well, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, unless this guy is found to have like a weird psychotic version of depression, just get a fucking divorce.
Well, also putting yourself in the car when you do this seems kind of like an own goal, doesn't it?
It's like, just kill yourself. Don't kill the innocent children.
Yeah.
And scar them for life.
You'll be just as free of them if you just kill yourself instead of killing all of your family.
Yeah, it's like,
well, if they don't love me, they're not going to love anybody.
Exactly.
Geronimo. I don't know. It's stupid, but
no, you're not wrong.
I think it's pretty impressive that they survived this thing.
I think it's awesome they survived it, because now it's like, you mother.
Yeah, he's in trouble now.
Well, it looks like they are of non-European decentage, and if her family,
I think we're looking at Dot, not Feather, is what we're looking at.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, the
where
Dot,
did Homie go to school?
Who knows?
Ross School of Medicine.
But
no, just
like, if that is the favorite daughter of the Dot, not Feather family, motherfucker better look out.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna have a hit put on their head.
Well, speaking of mental health problems, I can segue into this next thing.
Woohoo!
You remember me mentioning the Wrangler Star guy at one point, thinking,
Yes.
yeah, this is cool. And I said, you should watch his videos and stuff. I'm starting to become concerned at his
Uh-oh.
well-being. I want to just sort of show you a couple of his recent videos, and you can tell me if it's time for an intervention.
Uh-oh.
I eat the charcoal, or at least a little bit of it, that falls out of my wood stove in the morning. And the reason I do that is I grew up hunting with my grandfather, and we used to build small warming
Him!
fires.
I
and
know who
noticed
this
that
is.
At nighttime, the animals would come around and eat the charcoal.
Why?
from the fire ring.
Why are you
When I
eating
asked my
charcoal?
granddad
Why
about
are you
that,
in
he
bare
said, yes,
feet?
they understand that that's very rich in minerals.
No.
The Douglas fir tree
No.
can bring
No.
Dum-dum.
No.
minerals 150 feet out of the ground
No.
and provide them in
No.
a very concentrated
Chemistry
form.
doesn't
When you
work
burn this
that way.
firewood, all of the biomaterial burns away. What's left behind are these rich
No,
minerals.
dude, no.
Something to think about.
No.
This is hurting my brain, Harry.
Well,
Okay,
this
so-
is- he's been fired by the forestry
Yeah.
department because like
Needs
he went
to
on
be
a
fired
full,
by America.
well, no, well, the thing is, he went on a full rant about how the forestry department is corrupt and blah 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 blah. And I'm sitting there going, "Or you're just crazy."
Well, he got
Yeah.
fired because some, like his Forest Service hat or something was in some video. Again,
got
it's back
spotted.
to the branding intellectual property thing. He broke some employee agreement by
is that
using
what-
something that associates him with the Forest Service in one of his videos. And
Okay, well,
that
here's-
apparently is a no-no.
Well, here's my thing. Considering what he just said, if he's the one who told us and told the audience that, I don't know how much I believe him.
Okay,
I'm
but I have
sorry,
another
like-
video. I have another video. Okay. So again, is it time for an intervention? Here's another one.
This is the first night of me grounding my
Oh,
bed.
that! God,
this
that
is how I
pisses me off.
implemented it. Some of you asked me to show how
Why?
it's going to be set up. I ran the tape
Grounding
across
line,
here,
crazy motherfucker.
Why?
and that's hooked up to
Because
ground
I
wire
need to
Wait,
be
wait,
grounded
wait,
to
wait,
the
wait.
earth.
I want to
Get a
hear
clip
him.
into
The hell?
What?
just temporary. we'll see. We'll see how
It's
it
a
works, but-
it's a non-active plug because he went into detail
Well,
about
he's
it.
going. Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, he's just
know.
going into the ground wire.
Yes, it
Now
doesn't matter.
there's more than one kind of ground. There's
Yes.
earth ground, and then there's an
There's
electrical
building
ground.
steel and yeah.
And it's not entirely clear what he's trying to accomplish. Is he also wearing an aluminum foil sleeping cap at the same time? What is going on with this guy? Because I feel like I need to retract my recommendation. Like, yeah, there's some good videos. He's got some interesting information.
Let's listen more. Let's listen
Maybe
more.
he's
He
grounded
doesn't
into the
explain
house,
much
which
more.
goes to a heavy copper rod. So,
Yeah, he doesn't.
subscribe if
Heavy
you'd like
copper
to hear
rod.
for the results.
yeah. So he's got an earth ground.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to do. Is because there was some stupid air quotes doctor
No.
who was talking about how he ran a piece of metal tape down the middle of his bed, and then from a wire from that tape, and then that wire went to a nail that he put it in the ground, and he found he was so much better, and he felt so much more grounded. He's doing the same bullshit that guy did.
Okay, but the thing you got to remember is he says he's using heavy copper rods. Those are rods that are made from heavy copper, which has 2 extra neutrons in it. Did you know that?
No,
Extra
Yeah.
neutrons. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
I think it's
produced in
the- I think
hydrogen
it's-
bombs.
It's the electrons that are the issue here, though.
Yeah.
The neutrons are somewhat incidental.
But the neutrons are special neutrons from Xenu.
Yeah. Are they organic? Are they free range?
They're free range grass-fed
range.
neutrons.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
The best kind.
well, and also it was probably the rods were probably forged using solar power, so that makes it okay.
Exactly.
Just
because solar power is plenty to run a forge. Let me tell you how power intensive a forge is.
I think he's about 3 videos away from talking about sunning his rectum. That thing. You've heard about that, right?
well, there's that. There's also the one that Heberman pushes, which is going into an ice bath and how it fixes your nervous system and all this other. He's going down the not even pseudo, the quackery of. No, there's all these terrible things. There's estrogens in the lotion you put on that's making you less man. Like he's going down that path.
He's milking a well-sucked udder, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's
Well, Huberman actually has data on his stuff, though. That's the difference. He may be wrong, but at least
Yeah.
he has a reason for believing what he believes and could still be wrong.
Well, I
There's
mean,
no
the
reason
thing is,
for this. There is no reason.
There's
there's
no
What
reason.
you're seeing on your screen right
So
now.
what,
There is
Serenity
no
might
reason.
know something. What was it you were going to say?
I'm
well,
sorry.
there's a doctor who's been pushing this for a few years. He kind
Yeah.
of goes down the same path as I think he's even been on Ancient Aliens, like of this kind of stuff. Of like,
Oh,
he's actually the
lovely.
one who came up with this idea of the tape, except he has his go outside into the actual ground with a nail, with a copper nail, I think is what he said he did. And like, you literally have people in the comment section going, "Oh my God, this actually helped me." And I'm like, no, it fucking didn't, you lying sack of shit. But they talk about like, there's also the way you'll know he's at full nutbag is that there's a thing called Kagan water. And it is it's a water system that's $4,000
Okay.
and it makes the water, air quotes, living.
Oh, God.
And he's going to like, because that's usually the next thing they do is because it's an MLM. The Kagan water thing is an MLM.
Oh, God.
So basically it's like you can change the pH of the water with this little system, and you like this shows that like I think I saw one woman wash tomatoes in pH specific water and
Mhm.
see it gets all the nastiness off. It's like baking soda and water would do the same thing. I don't know why. What? But yeah, no, this is quackery. This is the medical world is evil and and all this kind of stuff. It's like I'm not fully trusting of the medical world, but this is going down the insane path.
Huh.
And it's just, I've seen, they're all over YouTube Shorts. They are all over it.
Yeah.
These people.
All right. Well, okay. Now okay. Now I feel like I'm being blackpilled by you guys, man. Okay.
Well, I'm so, like it's I block these people. I report them for false medical information, and they still show up on my timeline. It drives me nuts. But yeah, Assassin, that's basically what it is. It's placebo effect, or they're just trying to sell the quackery anyway.
Nice. So, Iranian chess player was warned not to return to Iran after competing without hijab.
Yeah, which she should have listened to that warning.
So, I mean, I have multiple thoughts about this. First of all, a lot of young men with money leave Iran, and as soon as they clear Iranian airspace, they do all sorts of things they're not supposed to do on that airplane.
Oh, yeah.
I think the difference is that she's doing it publicly and as opposed to sort of in private. She's really flaunting the things she does when she's outside of Iran. I think if some of the men did the same thing, they would get in trouble too. They probably wouldn't be told not to come home, but they would understand that they were going to be in deep doo-doo. But
it would depend on what family they're connected to, because there's some of them that because of the family connection, they are forgiven for their sins.
Of course, they have a very facile grasp on morality when it comes to certain classes of people.
They do.
So she was taking place in this big world chess championship thing. And I thought it was kind of interesting. She's rated like 200 something. No, she's ranked 804 in the world.
I could take her.
Now, I don't mean to be a dick about this, but I'm going to be a dick about this. If you're rated 804 in the world and somehow you get it asked to go to this thing and then you decide I'm going to make a statement that's going to render it so that I can't go home again.
It's not a position of power.
It's not a position of power, and it doesn't make you the new Rosa Parks. It just seems like a very ineffective way of trying to get attention.
Potentially tragic.
Yeah, I mean, she's putting herself at risk, and for what?
No good reason. Exactly. That's exactly my take on it.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the fact of what's going on in Iran now.
Yes, which is
like
terrible.
She's using it doubly, of she knows they're going to make the statement of not to come home. The fact that, and with the protests, it's going to drive it. So she's trying to become a probably a symbol to the people there. Not in a good way. I'm not saying she's doing it out of the goodness of her heart, but like,
she might turn herself into a martyr, Serenity.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I just don't think she thinks that.
Yeah,
because they never do when they leave the country. They're like, no, nothing's going to happen to me. And then especially if they go to England.
I've seen that look before on progressives in the U.S.
That's a smug bitch look.
So, I mean, again, I don't support all of the
smug face.
Yeah, I don't support all of the hijab nonsense or the police of vice and virtue. And I think all of this is absolutely terrible. But in terms of her individual choice, it's like you're making a statement, but it's really not a loud enough statement to warrant what's going to happen to you. It just seems foolhardy to me.
If she was top 20 in the world, yeah.
Yeah, if she was top 20 in the world, she could have her international chess career with her.
I suspect she's being used.
Or she's trying to use, Agreed.
What were you going to say, Functional?
I think she might get a, what do you call it?
Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh yeah, assassin.
A Nobel Prize. A Nobel Prize.
She might get be able to defect to Canada, United States, or something because of this dust up that she's creating, where she's then going to say, "Look, they're going to kill me if I go home. Please give me asylum in your country." And I kind of agree with the assassin. That's the kind of person you want to allow to get the hell out of there, because she's drawing attention to the fact that, yeah, they are a brutal theocracy who denies women and others basic human rights.
Yep.
Because I say, fuck the clergy of Iran that is ruling that place and has driven it into a shithole since they took power. Because people forget, Iran was one of those places. They were on their way to being a very westernized democracy in the region.
I've shown pictures of Iran before the fall of the Shah, and it was a modern, technically advanced place in that region.
It was sinful in the eyes of Allah. It was haram.
And that was
women in mini skirts, sweet Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I hope things go well for her, but it's just like I hope you know what you're doing,
painting a huge target on her back.
I don't want to see bad things happen to her just because she may have miscalculated how much clout she has.
She's only 22, and like here, for the most part, we allow kids to make mistakes and learn from them. There, you make a mistake, it doesn't matter if you're 22 or 12, they will kill you.
Everybody must get stoned.
Or they will retrain you.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel good about being the asshole in the room, but she's not a bad-looking woman, and she's only 22. I suspect she's going to have a soft landing somewhere.
Oh yeah, 100%.
She will find a benefactor of one form or another.
Maybe
multiple benefactors. Yeah. Good times.
No shame.
I wish her.
Hey,
all
baby,
the best.
you want the green card?
Yeah.
Come move to France. I give you a green card.
I do think that if the internet gets a hold of that picture, though, I think that'll be a new meme format.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's just that smug look on her face. Just not a good look.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to abbreviate the next thing heavily because we're actually running a little bit short on time. I want to talk about.
I did that
Venus.
with one of my marriages, but please.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Venus, so I have this whole story thing set up with catastrophism leading to Velikovskian catastrophism leading to Venus. So I'm going to take all of the niche catastrophism stuff, and I'm going to remove it and just go straight to the science.
California, and by California I mean Uranus.
But I feel like I have to do just a little tiny bit of it. So
do it.
Immanuel Velikovsky was one of these guys who thought that catastrophism, there's this group of people that sort of don't believe that the world or the universe was created peacefully and that slow change over time was the big deal, that it's the big important shocks that make the big difference in things. So he was trying to come up with a way to explain the world around us and make certain parts of the Bible sort of function. So he came up with this theory where essentially Jupiter spat out a comet, which then traveled over to the Earth, and because of its gravitation, stopped the rotation of the Earth, thereby explaining that part of the Bible where, there was no day and night for whatever it was, 3 days, which of course the rotational energy in the Earth would convert to heat and it would all become lava. But be that as it may, setting that aside, so he came up with this whole explanation for these biblical events that were explained by this comet. And then somehow miraculously this comet becomes the planet Venus. Now that's just dumb.
I was going to say, how did it hit Earth? Never mind. I'm just gonna shut up.
That's just dumb. The weird thing was that there were editors, literary editors in particular, who were actually giving this credence. They were,
Lord.
there's like apocalyptic amounts of rain coming down. Okay, ignore that. So anyway, Velikovsky catastrophism is a pretty funny thing, and I first heard about it when Carl Sagan brought it up. Most people didn't even know that these nitwits existed until Sagan brought it to light, and then we could all make fun of them thanks to his contribution. But the real science is much more interesting than the fake science. Now,
Yes, it is.
Venus is approximately the same size as the Earth, but it rotates in the opposite direction of Earth. And a day on Venus is 243 Earth days. So it doesn't rotate particularly quickly. Almost everything we know about Venus is from just a few space probes that either went there a long time ago, because Venus is a shitty place to go, or from flybys of other instruments that have been on their way to like study the sun or some other planet. They took some measurements of Venus when they were doing a gravity assist. So we know, for instance, that Venus has half as strong a gravitational field as the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is kind of interesting because you would think it would have more. Well,
It's less dense.
the dynamo that actually creates the magnetic field on Earth, for some strange reason, doesn't seem to be functioning the same way on Venus. In fact, it's the dense atmosphere's interaction with the solar wind, the charged particles in the solar wind, that creates the magnetic field that Venus has. This is interesting stuff if you care about things like this. So there is a lot of reasons, or there are a lot of reasons why we want to actually go back and take a look at this stuff, right? So if you look at planetary science and you say, okay, well, one of the things about Venus is that it's hot and terrible. Why is it so hot and terrible? Because it's not that much closer to the sun than the Earth is. It's like 60 something million miles versus 93 million miles on average. If you just look at what sunlight should achieve, Venus's temperature should be on average 232 Kelvin, which is minus 41 centigrade. That should be actually pretty cold, but instead, because it has 9,300 kPa of atmospheric pressure, and it's largely CO2. It has the greenhouse gas effect of all time, and it's actually 735 Kelvin or 462 positive Celsius. That's freaking hot. I mean, that's like almost 1,000 degrees.
It's getting hotter.
Yeah, it's almost 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. I could bake a hell of a pizza on Venus. That would actually be good.
Searing a steak properly.
So you can see the influence of the atmosphere on the planet. So Mercury doesn't really have an atmosphere per se. So its temperature, its actual temperature, is very close to what you would calculate just based on the amount of radiation that hits the planet, right? And if you look at the Earth, there's a nice little delta caused by our not insignificant atmosphere. The Earth should be minus 18 degrees centigrade, but it's actually on average 15 degrees centigrade. Much nicer, much nicer. Mars has a very insubstantial atmosphere, and you can see that the two numbers, the calculated and the actual, are actually fairly small. So sending probes to Venus is a pretty darn good idea.
Mars needs, what Mars needs is an atmosphere and a big old bunch of molten metal inside to keep that atmosphere.
I think if they run a very large wire from the Wrangler Star guy's bed to Mars, we can make that happen.
Think of that.
We can make that happen.
I heard Mars needs women.
Yeah.
I saw it in a movie.
Yeah.
So NASA has actually set up 2 Discovery-class missions to actually go and look at Venus, which is fantastic. One of them is Da Vinci Plus, which has just been renamed to Da Vinci. So we essentially have one orbiter, which is going to map the whole planet and try to figure out what's going on with the seismology there. Okay, because like I said, with the whole thing with the magnetic field, this is very, very weird and very, very interesting. And figuring out why Venus is the way it is totally worth sending an orbiter there. So they're going to send an orbiter, which is called Veritas. And Da Vinci is going to be a lander type of situation. So the
Mhm.
Da Vinci lander is going to gather atmospheric data and stuff about the chemical composition. Now, I was curious, how long is this thing going to last? And I had to
2
dig and
milliseconds.
dig and dig to figure out how long it was going to hold up for.
Will it be longer than the Venera 13?
Not much. Okay, so I found this paper, which I'll put in the chat because it's actually more than you would ever want to know about this mission. It's because it was written by the mission director. Everything about every experiment on here. So this right here tells you what you need to know in terms of the time frame, right? So there's all this stuff that happens and this little thing at the end that says 59 minutes.
Yes. Okay. All right.
We're going to do all this work to basically send this probe there, and it's only going to last for about 59 minutes because Venus sucks. It's like trying to go to the deepest part of the ocean, except it's made of sulfuric acid.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
basically
And
what
it's really
Venus is
hot.
like.
And boil and
Oh, yeah, and
1,000
hot.
degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
The two Russian probes that landed on Venus, each one lasted almost exactly 50 minutes, 50 minutes before they were crushed, and they gave in to the pressure. The pressure compromised the things.
Yeah. Well, the pressure was bad, but also the corrosive power. And it's not like with all those clouds, you can just use solar panels. So really, you just go down there with batteries, and the batteries run out of power, or the thing implodes at some point. That's it's a difficult environment to function in. As I recall, in order to take those pictures on the Venera probes that landed, they actually had to make a huge industrial diamond as the lens for the camera, and it was a non-trivial undertaking to actually manufacture that.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It might have been sapphire. It might have been sapphire, but it's the same general idea.
I almost guarantee it's sapphire because the aluminum content in it.
Yeah, my phone has a sapphire screen. It's amazing.
Right.
I don't have to put a protective thing on it at all.
No, they won't scratch. Yeah, hardly.
Yeah.
It's about a 7.5 hardness.
Yep. No, it's if I actually take a gem tester to the screen of my phone, it will tell you it's a sapphire.
Really?
Yeah. Kyocera. But they may not want to sell me a printer, but they sure have convinced me on the phone thing. But I just wanted to point out that we are going to do some cool science, and this is going to be sort of in the 2030 time frame. The orbiter is going to go there a little bit earlier. Luckily, it doesn't
see that.
It doesn't actually take very long to get to Venus. It's not one of these things where you have to do a whole bunch of gravity assists and go crazy, and it takes years and years. No, it's like Venus is our next door neighbor. It's easy to get to Venus. It's just right there. It's never particularly far away. Even if it's on the other side of the sun, it's not that far away.
Almost as fast as getting to Uranus.
Yeah.
Finally, a Uranus joke that was worth making.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Obviously.
Daisy chain with the 59-minute insertion period, and then we've got some good comedy. I don't know what there is to say about this other than I think it's really cool. I like the fact that we're doing all this planetary stuff. And
what do you think about the floating cities around Venus?
Why would we have floating cities around Venus?
Why does everybody think that's such an amazingly good idea?
I have never heard that idea before. That's so weird.
Seriously, you guys have never heard this, and you are.
It wouldn't be. I mean, it wouldn't be that bad because you'd have abundant solar energy, right? I mean, it's in terms of its Goldilocks thing. If we go back to this right here, right? So if you basically had a space station there, it would want to be -41 centigrade. If anything, maybe put it in a stationary orbit between Venus and Mercury. Just find the spot where you're comfortable and then put it right there.
Wait, Skep, was that the one where they were trying to mine because it rains? The pressure's so high they were trying to mine the diamonds that rained.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, like I watched an anime that talked about space stations around Venus, but I didn't know that was a thing beyond that.
Okay.
Wow.
At least as early as 1971, Soviet scientists had suggested that rather
that's
than
why.
attempting to settle Venus's hostile surface, humans might attempt to settle the Venusian atmosphere. And Jeffrey A. Landis of NASA's Glenn Research Center has summarized the perceived difficulties in colonizing Venus as being merely from the assumption that a colony would need to be based on the surface of a planet. However, viewed in a different way, the problem with Venus is merely that the ground level is too far below the one atmosphere level. At cloud top level, Venus is like a paradise planet. And this guy proposed something called aerostat habitats, followed by floating cities based on the concept that breathable air, 2179 oxygen nitrogen mixture, is a lifting gas in the dense carbon dioxide atmosphere with over 60% of the lifting power that helium has on Earth. So it's easy to float stuff in this atmosphere. It's, in fact, a balloon full of human breathable air would sustain itself and extra weight, such as a colony, in mid-air at an altitude of 50 kilometers, 31 miles above the Venusian surface. And the environment is the most Earth-like in the solar system beyond Earth itself. A pressure of approximately 1 atmosphere or 1,000 HPA, and temperatures in the 0 to 50 degrees Celsius. So that's 32 to 122 Fahrenheit. Very temperate. Protection against cosmic radiation will be provided by the atmosphere above, with shielding mass equivalent to Earth's own atmospheric shielding. So there's plenty of things that say this is right, this is right, this is right, but you're still building a city in the sky. That's even when everything is going your way, it's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you're doing it on another
with pure
planet.
chaos
But other than
below that cloud level.
other than it being on another planet and being a floating city, this is totally doable.
This is fine.
Yeah, this will be fine.
This is fine.
This is fine. Fine dog in the birdie cafe.
Yeah. Good times.
All right. So anyway, I'm sorry I couldn't end with something more constructive, Harry. Just be happy with what we've done, and that we're at least getting back into the
super
business
cool that
of
we're
putting people in space.
Super cool that we're continuing. Well, the royal we, the human race. We're mostly America, with a little bit of help from allies, but are still continuing to push the boundaries of science and to learn what's even in our own backyard of our solar system, and to know that something like this is going to happen within our lifetimes,
and to boldly go where no furry has ever gone before.
That's right.
Well, just to get some hard data of some of these things, like what's on screen now, and to learn more about why Venus is the way it is, could give us some more perspective on what happens here, and to know that this is going to happen within the next 7 years is I can't wait. There's so much cool stuff.
Yeah, it is cool. I mean, all the stuff with Jupiter and Saturn is very sexy, and honestly, the Webb, in terms of, it may have cost us $10 billion, but we're going to get a lot of fantastic science out of that. Because the nice thing about the Webb is you can look at a place like Venus and get pretty good data about the composition of the atmosphere. What it doesn't tell you is what happens as you go further down below the clouds, and that's why we have to actually send a probe.
What happens under the clouds stays under the clouds.
This whole thing about the magnetic field, though, is really pretty interesting. Oh wait, that's right, I have this thing on the magnetic field from Johns Hopkins. I will go ahead and put this in the chat as well, because this is actually, if you're feeling at all geeky, this is a pretty interesting read right here. So this was data that was actually gathered when the solar orbiter passed by Venus. This is just an older measurement. We'll be able to clear up a lot of the uncertainty that this article left behind with these new missions. It's going to be a good thing.
Hell yeah. I want to go traveling. I want FTLs. I want helium-3. I want nice fission. I want some fusion. I want some all.
Give that girl some nice helium-3.
Yep.
Well, we talked about fusion last week, and I was really, I'm genuinely excited about the Helion stuff. Yeah. I think it stands some real potential. It's like you had me at I don't need a steam turbine.
Yeah.
For
Straight
once.
to electricity. Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
That
How
sounds
small can
smart.
you make this?
Yeah. Small as an electron.
Yeah, will it
1.5
fit in a-
electrons wide.
Will it fit in a backpack? And can
Yes.
it be used on paranormal phenomenon? I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
We use it to fight kaiju.
Yeah,
Mr.
exactly.
Here.
So I wanted to look at a performance, but unfortunately, I'm afraid we're going to run into copyright problems. So I'm going to end the Minions stream, and we're going to keep streaming for a little bit over on my channel. And it's going to be an opera thing, so if you're not interested and that's not your thing, that's totally okay. But for now, the Minions side of the zoo is closed. So good night.
Good night, minions.
Bye.